We are now joined by cultural expert, Professor of African Languages at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, Sihawukele Ngubane, to unpack the significance of the rituals that were performed earlier this week in order to bring the late ambassador's body back from France to South Africa. And Professor, thank you so much for your time this evening here on SABC News. Now, we saw a delegation from Nathi Mthethwa's family heading over to Paris in France. And of course, we understood and were told that they had to perform some significant rituals in fetching his spirit. Maybe, for the viewers, just take us through what those rituals will then look like when it comes to fetching one's spirit.
Yes, a very sad moment for the country, and condolences to the Mthethwa family. I think most cultures who have strong beliefs in ancestral spirit and spirituality perform this ritual of fetching the spirit. It is called Ukulanda Umoya Kamufi. The reason is that the ritual is performed to guide the spirit of the deceased back home, because amongst the African people and the Zulu people in particular, there is a belief of afterlife. So the passing on of a person is a transition to the ancestral realm. So the ritual is performed to connect the deceased with his family, because if there is a sudden death, maybe away from home, like this is not usual that it goes across the oceans. But if you die away from home, your spirit must be brought home so that it doesn't wander about, because there is also a belief that if the spirit wanders about in the place of incident, it will cause harm to the living, because there's always a connectivity between the living and the departed. So it's a way of honoring the deceased, and it's also a way of respecting the deceased person, because the bereaving and grieving of a dead person should be treated with honor and dignity, because the person is passing away from this part of the world to another world.
And Professor, you make mention of the fact that the late Nathi Mthethwa was not at home, and he was all the way in France, and you touch on that significance, and maybe just take us through that. How different is this practice then, as opposed to somebody who dies, very close at home or in their home, and as opposed to somebody who dies so far away and where the body of that person still needs to be repatriated back home? How is that process done?
Yeah, it's quite complicated if you have to fly over the ocean with the spirit, because what happens when you come to the scene, you have a symbolic branch which is made of unpack. That branch is a symbol of guiding the spirit from the place of the incident. So what happens, the elder in the family will carry that branch and then call the deceased by his name and make a statement that we are here to collect you home. Then if under normal circumstances, after that pronouncement by the elder should not communicate to anyone. The elder must just keep quiet until he reaches home. But in this case, I think it is quite complex, because it wouldn't be possible that they will keep quiet all the way, because each time when they reach a particular point, you say, now we are traveling at this place, we have arrived in Joburg, we are now in Durban, throughout, because that is how the spirit is guided until they reach home. And then when they reach home, the elder will inform the deceased person's spirit that we have arrived home, and explain the nature of what is happening at home. There are people, there so and so and so and so. But in this case, I don't know how they happened, but I think what could have happened would be symbolic, just to pronounce that we are here to collect your spirit, and then we are going home.
And Professor, who then needs to conduct the ceremony? And I ask this because last week we were speaking to the family spokesperson or the family representatives, and his name is Sfiso Buthelezi, comes from the wife's family of Nathi Mthethwa, and he kept on saying that he's waiting for the representatives from the Mthethwa family to come and perform the necessary rituals. Then who needs to conduct these rituals? Can anybody conduct these rituals?
No, it is the elder in the family of the deceased. So it can't be a relative, but it should be the elder in the family. In this case, Mthethwa family are responsible to perform this ritual.
And then what happens in an instance of this nature that we are dealing with when it comes to the repatriation? And we've spoken about fetching of the spirit. How complex then does culture become when you have to repatriate one's body?
Yeah, I think it's part of a mourning period, and it is part of this rite of passage. If you make a pronouncement of the spirit, and then the body will be repatriated to home. And I think it's a combination of both the spirit and the body. But in instances where a body cannot be located, then the spirit plays a major role because they carry the spirit, and it becomes a symbol of the remains of the person. Even if the remains are not there, they will take his belonging, like a shirt or any clothes, then they will make that represent the body.
And Professor, before I let you go, and maybe if you can share with our viewers the significance of these cultural practices, and why some cultural groups continue to recognize them. How important are they to many African cultures?
It is important to conduct. You say we respond to grief in differently. It is important to observe the proper protocol for the deceased body because of the belief that there is afterlife. So the whole process should be treated with dignity. It is important that we observe that kind of respect and dignity for the deceased because he's moving to another life, so he must transit in a very dignified manner.
Professor, thank you so much for your expertise. That's cultural expert there, Professor of African Languages at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, Sihawukele Ngubane, giving us an insight in terms of what has been conducted when it comes to the repatriation of Nathi Mthethwa's remains, mortal remains, as well as the fetching of his spirit by his family.